Wealth disparity in the U.S. has become a very hot topic recently. The 99% versus the 1% became a rallying cry that was adopted almost instantaneously. The growing gap between rich and poor is a global issue. But in the slums of Mumbai, where over 11 million residents live in poverty, the contrast is startling. So I went to India to see just how bad it really is.
India is home to the highest number of poor people in the world, with over 360 million of its citizens living below the poverty line. And India's largest city, Mumbai, is home to an estimated 22 million people, half of which live in slums. This means that 4 times the population of Chicago is living in absolute squalor. Now contrast this with the fact that Mumbai is also home to the largest and most expensive single-family dwelling on Earth. India's richest man, Mukesh Ambani's billion-dollar personal palace, is a 27-story, 400,000 square foot skyscraper that takes over 600 employees just to maintain it day to day. And if that's not freaky enough, this futuristic mega super mansion actually looks down on some of the worst slums in the world.
How are you?
Hi. Hi.
Good to see you.
Same.
Where are we right now?
We are at Dharavi, one of the largest slums in Asia.
And how many people live in it?
More than 1 million people live
A
here.
million people live in this slum. How many people in Mumbai live in slums?
At least 10 to 11 million people.
So 11 million people living in slums. Can you show us around?
I will, sure.
So 1 million people live here. What are the qualities that they live under?
Living's very bad here. Somewhere it says Mumbai's pollution is equal to 2 cigarettes. If you're a non-smoker, that means you're smoking 2 cigarettes
right
a day.
now, I'm
You
smoking.
smoke?
No, but I'm smoking with you right now.
Yeah. We are
Just
smoking.
by walking,
Yeah.
we're smoking. How much would it cost to live here?
I mean, Mumbai is one of the expensive city, right? Most of the people here, they live in the factory where they work because to rent a house, you have to pay a lot, you know? See this one here. To rent this one, it will cost at least 10,000 rupees.
Right.
You know, so many people who work here, right, they can't afford that. So what they do is, wherever they work, they live there. If you speak to these guys, definitely all these guys live there only. Right
So
behind their clothes.
they all
and-
work there and they all live there
Yes.
at the same time?
Yeah, because
they can't pay rent.
Yes.
But how would you even live in there, though?
Just live there. Even now you can see that guy sleeping there. That's what, you know, the problem of India, maybe.
Yeah, maybe the world.
Yeah.
So there's open sewers everywhere. It smells quite pungent.
In fact, it's estimated that there's only one working toilet for every 1,400 people living in the slum.
If TV were scratch and sniff, then everyone would be barfing right now. It smells so bad, it's shocking. I don't know what just fell on me, but it's not good.
This area of Dharavi, a lot of recycling, you know, happens here. You can see here how they're sorting the plastic here. Then it goes to the grinding machine, and they grind it and they wash it and they recycle it, you know, make new plastic out of it.
Right.
But you can see again the working condition is not so good, you know.
Not great.
Yeah.
So they've got all the shit plastic from all over Mumbai, and they bring it here to the slum, and then they just sort of by hand recycle it. Insane. There's no real roads, it's just winding alleyway after winding alleyway, which wouldn't be so bad except there's over 1 million people that live in this slum.
And around every corner, it seemed that there was something even more shocking. There were young kids working in the dark, running makeshift machines that were retooling waste metal. And as we walked around, I realized that the whole economy of Dharavi is based on the garbage of the real economy of Mumbai. Everywhere you looked, people were trying to make something, anything, to sell or trade, desperately trying to make some money out of the waste of the real world.
Because it's so windy, there's no real roads, we're gonna go up on the roof and see if we can see the slum. I don't know if this is up to the safety code. How far does the slum go?
It's about
Huge.
432 acres.
432-acre slum, right in the middle of Mumbai. It reminds me of like Mad Max or something, you know, where they're living off garbage and fixing the garbage. Or, do you remember in Star Wars, you know when they go down into the garbage? If you jumped in there, there'd be like an eye come up and then go after you. So you have all these people living in this slum. They sleep under their sewing machines. What do they think about a guy who has $1 billion house?
We see people sleeping on the street. So there is a huge contrast,
Yeah.
between very, very rich people
Yeah.
and very poor people.
Yeah.
You can see this building here, right?
Yeah.
On the rooftop,
Yeah.
they have a swimming pool.
Now, do you think that the people who live in the building, who are swimming in the swimming pool, feel bad when they look down and they see people sleeping in the streets?
I don't know that. And I don't know. Even now, when I pass through, if I see some kids or family living on the street, I feel bad about
Yeah,
it.
sure.
I feel like, oh, I'm a bit luckier than
Yeah.
them. I'm in this position.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe if I'm there, I would have definitely think, come on,
Yeah.
this is too much gap.
It's too much gap. It's too much gap.
After spending some time in Dharavi, we wanted to see how the proverbial 1% live in the skyscrapers that ring these slums. So we hooked up with a textile magnate named Gautam Singhania to show us around Mumbai in his private helicopter.
So, how many million people live in Mumbai?
Greater Mumbai, about 20 million people with the suburbs included is what they say. I would say it's amongst the most crowded cities in the world. It's grown quite significantly.
Now Gautam is your quintessential 1%er playboy, complete with a fleet of yachts, aptly named after James Bond films, massive houses, and of course, a stable filled with the world's fastest cars.
Wow. So this is a Ferrari, I know that much.
Yeah, it's the 458 Italia. This was the first 458 that came to India.
So you got the first one.
Yeah. This is a '07 Gallardo, which has been modified. It's got twin turbos. It's fast. Trust me.
You actually ever drive the cars?
We drive every weekend. There's a supercar club that we have, and it's a bunch of guys who love cars. And
Yeah.
when we go out in the club with the boys,
Yeah.
it's always good to know you have the power under your foot.
Sure. Are we gonna go take one out on the road?
Sure, let's go.
And how did you fall in love with cars first?
I guess it's in your DNA.
Here we go. You get a lot of stares when you drive around the streets of Mumbai?
That's why we formed the supercar club. The part of the club is that when we guys used to go out, just one of us, two of us, three of us, so many people used to stand and, look. And we just figured that, it's just much easier when we have everybody together. Hey, picture.
Now maybe it was because we were driving around Mumbai in a $250,000 supercar, but Gautam did not seem to want to talk about the obvious disparity of wealth in the city.
And what do people think about Mukesh's house?
It's fantastic what he's done. He's built a phenomenal house for himself. It's outstanding.
And so you're building a house, but you don't want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Because of the bad publicity that Mukesh Ambani had enjoyed because of his house, Singhani didn't really want to talk about the new home he was building. He did let slip, however, that his personal private skyscraper was actually going to be 10 stories higher than Ambani's and have not one, but 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Mumbai perfectly exemplifies the growing gap between rich and poor, but the problem is actually a global one. Even the old communist societies of Russia and China have now morphed into arguably the most capitalist countries in the world. It seems that in our modern age, there are very few places left on earth where the rich aren't getting richer and the poor poorer.
When you see it in Mumbai, it's so clear-cut because it's poverty and people living off the garbage of the other society and the other economy. And the other half are building skyscrapers into the sky and living on mega yachts and flying into them on helicopters. And you say, what's happening to the world? Half of the world is living off the garbage of the other half in this post-apocalyptic nightmare.